There is almost no room in public sector to fail. You always have to succeed, otherwise you're crucified either by the politicians or by the journalists or by public opinion. So that's one of the core tasks of a manager, to create this atmosphere that we can try new things. It's okay to fail, but let's not fail.
Welcome to the Digital Government Podcast. Tune in to discover the future of governance and ways of getting there.
Hello, you are listening to the E-Governance Academy Digital Government Podcast. My name is Merla Maigre. I am the host of today's episode. I am also the director of the cybersecurity program at E-Governance Academy, and in my former past, I worked with various leaders. Together with me, I am really glad to have Taimar Peterkop, the former head of Estonian Government Office, amongst other different positions. Welcome, Taimar.
Good to be here.
We will be discussing today the topic of leadership throughout digital change. I would like to divide, or hopefully we shall have time to discuss more generally about leadership and change management, and then reserve some time to discuss about leadership in crisis, because I know that you, Taimar, have excellent experience of leading organizations through different crises. As a way to introduce introduction to the topic, I would say that definitely many organizations face the challenge of how to keep up with change, to survive in this current turbulent economic climate in the middle of various geopolitical challenges. And change management is definitely very much dependent on leaders. So the topic, I think, is very relevant. Leadership is the critical driver, or leader is the critical driver in digital change management. This requires not only good planning and knowledge of the processes, but also sometimes some magical skills to look into the future and keep the organization together, vision, and have maybe also good humor. So the way I'm thinking about it would suggest the topic divided into some different sub areas, maybe starting with the personal development first. What do you think, Taimar, regarding the personal development of leadership? How important is the leader's self-awareness, understanding about oneself?
Well, of course, it's very important. I would even say that it's foundational. I know from my personal experience that as I've developed over 20 years as a leader in different positions, that when we are young, we have this perception of ourselves, and it has a lot to do with who we want to be, not who we are. And then you learn through experience and feedback, you get who you really are. And I believe very much in those psychological tests or psychological characteristics tests that they do on your personality. These are quite good, and these actually tell quite objectively about who you are. And I've learned to use them in both hiring people, but also how to learn about myself. So I think it's very important. I've witnessed throughout my career how there are leaders who are compensating their insecurities in the leadership roles, and through that the whole organization and the aims or achieving their aims, it's suffering. So as I said, it's foundational to understand who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, so you know how to compensate them.
Okay, fair enough. But if this is for starting out and younger leaders, what would you recommend, Taimar, what to do for self-development for a leader? How can a leader become better in self-awareness? Because surely enough, leadership is not something that we are born with, but a skill to be learned and acquired, if you agree. So how to become better at this part?
Well, I believe some people are born with the gift, but it can be learned as well. So I think leadership is something that can be learned, but for some people it comes naturally, and some people need more energy to deal with it. Well, the easiest way, as I said, is to study yourself, either through getting feedback. People are very bad in accepting feedback. Then there are those tests that in most of the leadership positions you are required to do, and so study those tests. But then what we did in government office in Estonia is responsible for developing the top management in Estonia as well. We offered the top managers in Estonian public sector coaches, and that proved to be a very useful tool as well. So experienced leaders acted as coaches for the newcomers, and that was one of the most effective tools, I believe.
Awesome. I know, Taimar, that you yourself are also a coach. What makes a good coach?
Well, a good coach is a person who would be modest and let the coachee to do most of the work, who holds himself back, that he listens, asks right questions, so that the coachee would understand himself what are the problems, and would come out with the solutions to the problems as well. So you develop a person not to solve a problem, but to develop a person. That would be the aim.
Very nice. Throughout your own experience of carrying out the leadership position in different organizations, but also in working with other high-level people, politicians in the Estonian public sector, what role models have you experienced, or do you have any role models? What quality of political leadership would you appreciate most?
Well, it's I've used that example earlier as well. I think Jesus was a great leader. He offered a vision, and he had this inclusive leadership style that allowed his followers to fulfill their dreams as well. I don't have any specific role models, but I've learned from everybody. You can learn positively, you can learn negatively. So each politician that I've worked with, I've learned something. Usually it's positive aspects. When Jüri Ratas was prime minister, he had fantastic stamina. He could deal with the problems 24/7, and sometimes when it was difficult problems that needed to be solved, his competitors got tired, and so he finally got his way. I think Kaja Kallas was carrying a set of values that made most of the Estonian public sector leaders to follow her. She was an embodiment of those values, and you didn't need much other leadership competencies to use if you are in those difficult times. Through those values, you're making everybody to move in the same direction, whether it's Corona crisis or the escalation of Ukraine war. I think that was a fantastic thing to see how you can make the entire Estonian civil service to move in the same direction. Of course, there were other elements as well. So different people, different skills, and you can learn from everybody.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing these examples. Finally, maybe trying to poke, you brought some useful tips of what sources one can turn to grow as a leader and to become better, more self-aware, coaching, tests. Can I ask a personal question, Taimar? In your own personal self-development and improvement as a leader, what do you do, or any recommendations of readings, any inspirational movies, books, or any other experience that you think you are turning to improve in this regard yourself?
I think one good experience to share is that when I became Director General of Information System Authority, and that was completely new area for me. Being a top manager, you're alone. It's very difficult to discuss the issues with somebody in the organization or even the outside, because everything is classified or sensitive. So I happened to find the person that I trusted. I can say his name. It's Mikk Marran. He used to be at that time the head of Estonian Foreign Intelligence Service. So you can trust the spy. So I actually used him as a coach or as an advisor. I reflected with him the issues that I needed to address, the challenges that I'm facing, and that was very useful format for me. And I have to admit that I still do it sometimes, that even lately I've been discussing with him some personal career choices. But otherwise, in general, I would say that these days we are talking more and more about mental well-being, that you need to pay attention to that. It's I burned out in one position in my career, and I learned through that it's not good. It's not a good place to be. So try to avoid that. So pay attention to your mental state, and for that I only can recommend that do sports, read a lot. In today's world, everything is connected, so you need to understand how world works. So read stuff that is not related to your everyday work. Fiction is the best. Science fiction in our area, science fiction is very good. So do other stuff than just work.
Excellent. Thanks so much. That's really useful. Now, moving on to the personal development, to perhaps the teamwork level. For a leader, it is always a team that brings results. You have to create conditions for the team to really be at their best. How do you do that? Or Taimar, do you have some tips how to build a successful team?
Well, I think one of the most important qualities to have there is empathy. It's be curious and understand other people. It's like a foundation. But otherwise, it's those tools that we probably all have practices. That the most important part is to have a shared vision. What do we need to achieve? If people understand that this is our goal, that's the best motivator. That this is what we need to do. Let's move. And then if we can actually achieve something that brings positive emotions. So having a clear vision, shared vision that everybody agrees with, that's the first step. Second is to choose a right team. It's I think it's very important to have competent people who can complement each other and who can also complement yourself. If first you are self-aware, you know your strengths, your weaknesses, then compensate those aspects that you know that you're not that good at. So to have a good team, I've learned throughout my career that it's good to have different people. That, for instance, in COVID crisis, we relied first on the security establishment we had at the government office, but I soon realized that by bringing in people from other departments, for instance, strategic planning, etc., who had very little connection to security area, it complemented a lot the team and brought out new aspects that we needed to deal with, and we were much more effective, I think. So to have a good team. And then the third probably would be that the role of the leader at least in those organizations that I've led, it's the government office, the Information System Authority, you have so competent people who are quite often are much wiser, much smarter than I am. So it's your role is to create an atmosphere that those people then can act according to their potential. That I believe that happy people are the most effective. So I've always tried to create an atmosphere where people can be happy and enjoy the work they do. So that's the third thing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Very, very clear and very interesting. Picking up on the first you said, a vision, I very much agree with that. Would you agree that with creating a vision that the team can unite at, it's part of that is sharing information with the team, because you as a leader often probably are. You get information more than you might be more knowledgeable about stuff through whatever briefings or conversations that you as a leader have, and then it's important to make sure that the rest of the team is at the same information space with you. So it's important to share, not hold back.
Yes, absolutely. That's an average mistake that is happening in organizations, is that the information flows from bottom to up, but not top down. And it's not only the top management, but it's also the mid-level management. I've quite often realized that the information flow stops in mid-level management. That even at when you're at the top management, you do those discussions. And I've always had this inclusive leadership style that I go through everything, all the decisions together with the management. So we even if at the end of the day it's my decision, that everybody would have a chance to participate in this discussing it. But yeah, you need to deal with the clear communication constantly and consciously, especially when we're talking about crisis management or change management. The communication you usually do 3 times that you need to do communication, and it's still a problem. Usually it's that people don't get the message. I think that's very important to knowingly communicate and then follow up that the message has gone through, that what you do and what you say. And this is at the end of the day, when you need everybody to start moving in the same direction, it's one of the most fundamental things to do.
About nurturing diversity, you said very rightly indeed that a good team is more diverse. I think it also starts a little bit with a leader being confident about oneself and about one's weaknesses as well, so that the top person wouldn't be shy to bring in people who maybe are, as you said, better than yourself. That takes some confidence, I would say.
But confidence comes through self-awareness, that if you are aware of your weaknesses and you accept them, then that helps to build confidence, that then you can start dealing with it. I remember when I became a state secretary or the head of government office, then and I had some government meeting, I told the government that I'm sorry, that was my mistake, that the government made the wrong decision, and that was because of me. And then I've been for a few months I've been at the job, and then my colleagues told me later that no, you cannot never apologize. Government office doesn't make mistakes. But I think that if you are confident enough, then you can admit that you're making mistakes, and that actually makes you stronger. But if you are honestly, it was your mistake, then admit it, and that demonstrates that you are, you know what you're doing.
Moving on to from the teamwork, and you've definitely shared some useful wisdom. Moving on to the performance improvement, which I think is part of maybe a third big thing that is expected from the leader. One could spend another hour discussing about the different sides of performance improvement, of course. And maybe I'm picking about a narrow thing, but and maybe it's a personal thing, but I feel that a lot of people, especially at mid-level managers, are struggling with time management. People have their calendars full, their attention is fragmented, all the day passes out by people reacting to different fires, putting out of the fires. Without any feeling that one is in control of one's own time. Do you have some wisdom what to do about this? Is there anything to do about this? How to be better at time management?
Well, there are several techniques and there are courses developed how to deal with that. For me personally, I remember I once faced a situation like this was during the COVID crisis. We had at the government office, we made those psychologists available for people who are under stress because times were difficult. And at some point I called there myself, and that was especially my problem, is that there are so many things on my table that I feel that I've lost control, and it's already causing mental problems for me. Couldn't sleep, etc. So, and the advice was very simple: is that each time you take another task, think that you will then don't do something else, and make that decision consciously. Whether it's your personal life, whether it's your family, it comes at the expense of something. So make that decision consciously each time you take a new task. And I started to use that. Usually it's the first is yourself that you're making sacrifices, and then it's the family and or work, or depending on the situation. So if you make those decisions consciously, so at the end of the day, don't deal with everything. Learn to say no, prioritize. And for a leader, what is very important is to take time to think. It's thinking takes time. So make time available. For me personally, the best time to think is when you do exercises, jogging, skiing, cross-country skiing. If you do exercise that brings aerobic exercise that supplies the brain with oxygen, that helps you think. So the most of the times I've solved problems that require thinking is while I'm exercising. Different people, different approaches, but I've seen that some leaders are even blocking time in their calendar for thinking. So take time to think, prioritize, don't deal with everything. So that's how you should approach it.
Oh, good recommendations. Innovation is another subject where people are often struggling how to support innovation, how to create best conditions for innovation in an organization. Taimar, I think when I think of the government office, well, you were responsible of many things, but one of the many great things that happened in the government office under you was the innovation team that you set up and that achieved cool things. How, on your opinion, can a leader do to support innovation from that experience, or any other part of your life that you want to bring examples from?
I think that's one of the core tasks of a leader these days, is to develop this culture of innovation. It's because times are so dynamic. We need to constantly change to adopt. So we need to create this culture that people are willing to try new things, to be more effective, to use new technologies. So they are adopting with very fast changes in how the world operates these days. So it's yes, in government office we took upon ourselves, although it wasn't described like that in the laws, but we took upon ourselves to also enhance the innovation culture throughout the executive branch of Estonian government. So we had the Inno team who went to help other government agencies how to better develop their services. And we had innovation funds, and then we put a lot of effort into developing the managers as well. So it's up to managers to create this culture of innovation. I personally don't believe that much into this, that you have this Jesus Christ coming in and with a vision and then everybody follows that. I believe that a lot of innovation comes from bottom up. So people who are in grassroots level understand that, we can do things differently. So you need to create a culture that those ideas can come up. They are not being killed immediately like they do in public sector usually, that it's better to be on the safe side, let's not do anything. But then those ideas are put into work. And if they fail, And most of the time, ideas fail. Very few ideas actually succeed. You need to have this culture that failure is okay when there are objective reasons behind that. So people are not afraid to that the journalists are writing next day that this amount of money was just wasted, etc. That when we do our best to innovate, that we can fail as well, and that's very important in public sector, because there is almost no room in public sector to fail. You always have to succeed, otherwise you're crucified either by the politicians or by the journalists or by public opinion. So that's one of the core tasks of a manager, to create this atmosphere that we can try new things. It's okay to fail, but let's not fail.
All right. No, I agree with you. And one of the takeaways here then is then also that be proactive. Don't cut yourself back to the strict terms of reference, or don't think that it's safer not to do anything, but be bold and do stuff and not be afraid to fail. Although when I think of the Inno team that worked under the government office when you were there, they came up with very cool and successful ideas. So I'm thinking of them much more like new, out-of-the-box and very successful solutions to improve life in the public sector in Estonia.
But most of them were not seasoned civil servants. They were hipsters from Kalamaja. So they came out of civil service, and so they had out-of-the-box ideas as well.
Right, and it's important for the leader to accommodate that, to allow
Exactly.
and to convene this diversity, I guess, in a team that allows those hipsters from the Estonian Brooklyn side, so to say, to push and nudge the public sector towards more user-friendly solutions.
And some of them were very surprised themselves that they are working in the government. But they, as far as I know, they enjoyed it.
Maybe last thing to address a concern that I think many people have these days, as the artificial intelligence is getting bigger and bigger in a world that is centered around financial growth and economic growth. There is a lot of stress caused by the uncertainty of what will happen to jobs when many functions get taken over by artificial intelligence. What's your take on this? How proactive or cautious should one be in public sector digital change when adopting artificial AI solutions or working with AI?
Well, I think the Estonian experience is that our success story is through that we adopted the technology. So I think we should follow that, what has worked for us so far. So we need to be proactive in exploring how AI can make our lives better and different adoptions of it then. So as a general rule, we should be open about it, we should explore it, and then learn about the risks that are coming with it. We know certain principles that need to be adopted, that the AI cannot replace a person. There always has to be human in the loop. If we want to survive as a species, we need to control the AI, not the vice versa. If we want to survive as a society, we need to have trust. And the trust is that it's those politicians that people have elected who are running the country, not the AI is running the country. So we should build our infrastructure in a way that we are in control, and we should communicate always that we are in control. It's not the AI. AI is here to help us. They are not taking our job. So I would think that the nature of our job will change. But in order to adapt with that change, let's use it. Then we are better in adopting. And so far, the adoption of technology hasn't taken away white-collar jobs. It has changed white-collar jobs, but it hasn't taken it away. So statistically, white-collar jobs are so far safe, and I believe that in the future they are safe as well.
Let's then now turn a few last remaining minutes to leadership during crisis, something, Taimar, that you've got great experience with. I think leading in crisis is something that you're particularly good in. You've got plenty of experience with that. Estonian ID crisis back in 2017-18, COVID crisis, war in Ukraine. How would you say does Estonia compare to other countries in crisis management? Are we learning from someone? What are the features to outline here?
I think all in all, we can divide it into two. It's first how you prepare for crisis and then how you react. I think in preparing to crisis, we are quite okay. I think we are very good in when it comes to military preparedness. And I think we've done quite well in cyber, but in some other aspects, we haven't allocated enough resources to be better at it. And I don't mean only that you buy some stocks, but even that the organizations pay attention and allocate people to deal with crisis readiness, and they train and etc. That it's not done enough. So depending on an area, there is room for improvement. I think we've learned a lot from Finland, from Israel. So it's better to learn from other countries than only through your own experience, especially when it comes to crisis. But when it comes to reacting to crisis, I think we're quite good because we're small, very dynamic, and we have this proactive approach to take charge. Both politicians and senior civil servants have this attitude. So I believe that we've been quite okay. And I think there's a lot of similarities in crisis management and then change management, especially doing innovation, is that things are moving so quickly that you have to make decisions very quickly. And you can make changes quickly. It's like radical innovation. It can be done in times of crisis. That crisis usually are opening windows that you've had some ideas, but because of whatever, there is no political support or whatever reasons, not enough resources, that you haven't managed to do them. But crisis, when it happens, it usually opens these windows of opportunities. So you should do innovation and crisis management same time.
An important part of a crisis is communication. We touched upon it before, but maybe from the crisis point of view, what do you think is the importance of a transparent and straightforward communication during crisis? And how much does crisis communication differ from regular communication, if at all?
It's very important because during crisis, people are, the anxiety level is high. You need to calm things down. You need to demonstrate that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that it's not a train, that the government knows what to do, or whoever is solving the crisis, that things are under control. So calm, clear communication is important. Everybody understands that. But the thing is how you do that. How you do that in a democratic society when every politician is a competitor with other politicians. Everybody wants to get their message out first. So that has been a problem for us, that in those national crises, that while everybody recognizes that, yes, this is how we should do this, it's very difficult to in a democracy to get a disciplined approach. You can do that among government agencies, but really it's much more difficult to do with political leaders. So I think this is something we need to accept, and we should again stay calm. You know, in crisis, the best abbreviation is ABC. It's easy to remember. Always be calm, always be cool. So keep cool. If there is some messages you don't understand, it's because democracy is messy. But let's focus then and try to get to the core of the messages. And usually there are details that are differing. The core message is the same, so no need to get excited about the different details.
very cool and practical advice. ABC is definitely easy to remember. Maybe coming close to trying to wrap up, but maybe the last question on your opinion, Taimar, how not to let a good crisis go to waste? How to make most out of it so that whatever happened and whatever innovation doors it opened, it doesn't go to waste. Do you think that Estonia has experience with that there are some best practices to share in this field?
Well, the easiest thing is always to lessons learned. And somebody outsider would do it. You do your own lessons learned anyway, but let somebody outsider do that. In ID card crisis, it was the Taltech University that did the lessons learned. In Corona crisis, after the first 3 waves, the Prime Minister, on my advice, asked state auditor to do a lessons learned. But the second thing I also mentioned is that to learn those windows of opportunities to use that sometimes it's the window of opportunity opens that you can do something that you've been thinking about for a long time. So do it now. It's usually the public allows you to make a radical innovation or radical decisions, and you get funding for that. I think the only time when I got the entire money I asked for the budget as a head of Information System Authority was after the ID card crisis. Then all my budget requirements were answered positively. So use that window of opportunity to do things differently, to ask for additional resources. When Ukraine war escalated in 22, a month before the war escalated, 20th of January 22, the government decided to allocate additional money to Estonian comprehensive defense, not only to military, but also to raise the ability of civilian agencies to do more. And that was, the plans were there for years already, how to enhance their crisis management capabilities, but we couldn't get political support. So we used the tension that was raising in Ukraine to push that through, and so just to illustrate how you do that when there's a window of opportunity, use it. Excellent.
With this thought, thank you, Taimar. I think it's appropriate to conclude. Thanks for this incredibly fascinating discussion today. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by the eGovernance Academy. Tune in next time.